You good? Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome to the Colosseum. The Colosseum is also known as the Flavian Amphitheatre because guess what? It was built by the Flavians. So the Colosseum was built by Vespasian and used a lot under Titus. A lot of people don't know kind of the history of the Colosseum, so we'll run through it real quick. Basically, this area used to be the center of the Domus Aurea, the Palace of Nero, and it was sort of like a really big lake underground. And basically, when Nero was, not emperor anymore, the Romans were like, wow, we really want to get rid of every single memory of Nero ever. So they decided to basically take back the center of Rome, which had been this giant palace, and give it back to the people. And so how best to do that but to turn the center of his palace into an area that was specifically for people, which was the Colosseum, so you'd have spectacles here. So we're going to walk around and see what we can find. Okay, so here we see the inside of the Colosseum. What I'm going to focus on here is you see over there, you've got these kind of like weird rounded parts on top of the archways. That is not original. There was a method of conservation in the 20th century where to preserve the rocks from being weathered on the top, what they did is they just covered it with concrete. This is no longer done because concrete is really difficult to remove. So what's really interesting about this is if you go to sites and you see walls, like Roman walls that have been covered with things like that, that is okay to sit on because it's not original. And if you have to sit somewhere on a site, it's better to sit on that than to sit on an original wall. So, keep that in mind. I know everyone can't walk forever, but you can see it's done to all of these. And this is basically to stop the rocks weathering and falling and, landing on people dying. It's not really something we want anymore in the Colosseum. You can even see underground, actually, which is pretty cool. Apparently it's booked till July, so we can't go down there, but I mean, we could break in, but maybe we shouldn't. Last time I was here, I got kicked out for being in costume because it's a Christian memorial. We'll talk about that later. Tell me when? Okay. Alright, so here we can see the base of the Colosseum again. So if you wanted to put on a performance in the Colosseum and kind of have like a day of games, you would, do all the normal like social media kind of things, put your posters up, get people to yell in the streets about your game day, and then you would have an all-day event. And so in the morning you'd normally have, gladiators fighting animals, or, gladiators reenacting famous battles, and the scenery would change on the actual surface of the floor. So that's probably the original level of the Colosseum, and everything else is underneath. And there was a lot of technology. There were pulleys and ropes, and so you'd have the animals, coming up out of the floor, the gladiators coming up out of the floor, everything coming out of the floor, and so I guess it must have looked pretty cool. One big misconception is that gladiators weren't actually killed in combat. A gladiatorial battle was actually a lot more kind of chill than people think. There was a referee. Gladiatorial combat had a referee. And as soon as blood was drawn, everything would halt, and the crowd would be like, no, emperor, kill him, don't kill him. And normally the emperor didn't actually put the gladiator to the death. There were a couple of emperors who were really mean about it, like Vespasian, and a couple of the later ones, like Elagabalus. But training a gladiator was really expensive, and gladiators were really famous. So if you wanted, the whole point of the Colosseum and the whole point of the idea of arenas was to keep people happy. So if you killed off their favorite gladiator, they weren't going to be happy with you, so no one really wanted that. Also, interestingly enough, this is probably the first non-wooden arena in Rome. There are previous arenas that we have in textual evidence built in the Forum, Boarium, and things like that, and they are all in wood. So, go figure. Go big or go home, right, Romans? Here we see a potential demo of how the pulley system would have worked and how the trapdoor system would have worked.
Yeah, you can.
That's cool. It's like a cool thing. Here again is the underground. Again, you can see the cement on some of the tops of the rocks of the building. Not all of them though. So if you wanted to jump across the remains of the floor, make sure you jump across the ones that have been consolidated. Don't be that guy. It's just walking around the Colosseum. Walking around in circles, basically. Lots of walking around in circles. Of course, the Colosseum is not actually shaped like a circle. It is two theatres put together. That's why it's called the Flavian Amphitheatre. That's Greek for literally two theatres. And theatres were basically half an oval. So when you put them together, you get a full oval, not a circle. Fun facts. So while there is no archaeological evidence for a naval battle being reenacted here, it's not impossible. I just don't know how like watertight you'd have to get this. Obviously the Romans had watertight cement and cement that could set underwater, so you know, go figure. But you can see some of the little square buildings that look like they might have been the chutes of the trapdoors. I mean, that's a lot of trapdoors to have in a row, but I mean, I'm not going to judge. Here we have the Arch of Constantine, visible through the Colosseum. I'm not going to talk about it. It's Constantine. No one cares about him. Alright, here's the other side, the Colosseum. This might or might not be a view of the Temple of Venus in Roma. I don't remember, but it's cool. And that is the gladiatorial school and housing quarters, which as you can see is a road across from the Flavian Amphitheatre. Yep, it's where you learn to fight people. Awesome. Wow, I would hate to be the gladiator who had to fight, you know, a bear. Like someone else got to fight a chicken. Someone had a really bad day. That sucks. Would you rather fight one chicken-sized, one bear-sized chicken or 10 chicken-sized bears? Go. Ready? Okay, so here we are in the lower part of the Colosseum. Fun fact about gladiatorial combat. Gladiatorial combat, according to textual evidence and some archaeological evidence, originated from the Etruscans as well as other Latin cultures from northern parts of Italy than we are in Latium. So gladiatorial combat originated from funerary rites. Basically what would happen is someone would die if they were very important. Two slaves would fight each other to death over the grave, and the blood that seeped into the ground from the loser was used as like a something to please the ghosts, so the ghost didn't come back and haunt people. Why ghosts want blood? Who knows? I think Happy Meals are perfectly okay, but there we are. So eventually this tradition became a lot more extravagant, where you had really rich people who had, you know, funerary rites which would last a whole week, and the combats would go on, and then they became like more a spectacle, and people would start coming to the funerary rites just to see them, and it ended up turning into an arena, a public spectacle event. But it originated with human sacrifice and funerary rites. Tacitus tells us that, and then the archaeological evidence, for those of you who are sitting there going, well, you know, I don't believe you, is it's not the Etruscans, but it's another northern Italian culture. You look at their sarcophagi and there are actually pictures of gladiatorial combat from slaves just on the coffins, and you're like, well, that's kind of weird, isn't it? And like, look at all these red stains everywhere. Like, I really hope that's paint or ketchup. Okay, it's not ketchup. I really hope it's paint. That's kind of weird. But yeah, so human sacrifice. Thanks, Romans. No visit to the Colosseum is complete without a horse butt. Don't sit on the columns. Okay, so now we're on the outside of the Colosseum, or the Flavian Amphitheatre. Interesting thing, we don't know if the amphitheatre was actually covered or not, so if you had a day like today, if people had to sit in the sweltering heat, or if they actually had shade. The reason why people think that it was covered is because if you look at pictures of the amphitheatre in Pompeii, that one is shown as having like an animal skin cover that extended out around the crowd, but the amphitheatre in Pompeii is decidedly smaller than the Flavian Amphitheatre, so we're not actually sure. So, you know, maybe you had to suffer, or maybe you got some mortal comfort, but here it is. I wasn't going to talk about it because it's common knowledge, but here you can see the four, I'm not going to rotate it, the four orders of columns on the Colosseum. So at the bottom you've got Etruscan or Tuscan, and then you've got Doric, followed by Corinthian, and Ionic, and then Corinthian. Wow, just messing up this video as I go. And the idea of this order of columns was because Etruscan columns or Tuscan columns could take the most weight, and then Doric second most, and then Ionic and Corinthian stylized, artistic, hashtag aesthetic kind of things, rather than for really weight bearing. So So yeah. So this is new, or not new, it's Roman, but this excavation wasn't here last time. Looks like we've got some debris. Maybe a sort of pavement or a road where the darker stones are. And then marble, which could be, you know, corresponding to the plaza around the Flavian Amphitheatre. So that's cool. Looks like we've got some building material here. So I'm not sure whether that's from, like, you know, the disuse of the Colosseum, but this was definitely not here last time, and that is pretty awesome. Life hacks. Do not come to Rome when it's raining, or you will have to walk on these in the rain, and you will fall and die. Here we have the gladiatorial training ground, school, living space. I'm assuming those are the living spaces, and this is the training ground. Oh look, pavement. Original pavement. That's nice. There we have it. And one more across the street for good measure. Awesome. Welcome to the Flavian 2 half ovals put together.
So you mean the full oval?
I can't believe that's what Zeus looks like in the 3D ancient Rome. Look at that. It's in 3D. Here we have some ancient graffiti. Ancient graffiti is really funny because it's either stuff like, you know, Carol was here, or, you know, like Maximus was here, or it's like Lucinia is good at sex, or it's apotropaic. And I know there's a little figure down here. It's like, hey, what's up? Ancient graffiti is pretty cool. Welcome to the 75th annual Hunger Games. Whoop-de-whoop.